December of 2011, Sony revealed the development of a new intellectual property by one of their studios, Naughty Dog. This game was to be a character-driven tale about a modern plague decimating mankind. In 2013, The Last of Us came to PlayStation 3 and racked up an incredible 95 out of 100 on Metacritic's rating scale. Critics lauded the game's cinematic gameplay, top-notch production values, and cast performances that would impress any Hollywood director.
Maybe they had a map, or something to tell us where they were going.
How far are we gonna take
this?
As
far as it needs to go.
I tell you what, how about I worry about my brother, you worry about your girl.
Easy. We're looking for the Fireflies too.
Game director Bruce Straley and creative director Neil Druckmann, along with the team at Naughty Dog, had created something special. Now, a year later, a remastered version of the game is available on PlayStation 4, so I decided to give The Last of Us a detailed look to see what exactly makes it so special.
Let's get on with it.
On the surface, The Last of Us is a single-player, third-person action game that requires the player to navigate mostly linear environments, gather and manage resources, avoid enemies, and engage in combat in order to get from point A to point B. The game doesn't track any kind of score or time limit, and if the player fails, they can retry immediately from a checkpoint at no cost. Environments are divided into various types. First, there are the traveling sections. During these segments, the player is essentially moving the character from A to B while keeping an eye out for resources. Players are required to examine the environment and determine the correct way to proceed while performing various tasks. These tasks can range from starting a generator to provide power for a lift, to moving a ladder into position in order to reach a higher area. During these sections, the player is usually not in danger from enemies, and if the player is having difficulty figuring out how to proceed, the game will prompt them in the right direction.
Hey, there's one of those floating raft things again.
The player will also use these sections to craft items from found materials and upgrade their arsenal. The second type of gameplay takes the player into areas populated with enemies. The game allows the player freedom to choose the best way to handle the situation. Stealth, aggression, or a combination of the two are at the player's disposal. These areas also reward the player for exploring the environments by hiding resources in the nooks and crannies. The beauty of these styles of gameplay is that The Last of Us transitions seamlessly between them. This causes the player to be on their toes at all times for the next big surprise. There are also times when the game completely changes to a unique scenario. You might find yourself suddenly manning a sniper's perch to defend other characters, or pushing a truck downhill to charge its battery. These sections are a third type of gameplay that fall under a miscellaneous category, and are key to keeping the gameplay from becoming repetitive. Traditionally, games like this will pit the player against boss challenges in order to ramp up the difficulty at key moments. The Last of Us avoids this approach in order to give the game a more believable flow. Events transition from one to the next without telegraphing upcoming challenges. This keeps the player from being able to predict the next big event and encourages them to always be on the lookout. That being said, there are still boss-like moments that are used to introduce new types of enemies,
That don't sound good.
force the player to face basic enemies while at a disadvantage, or simply throw a ton of baddies at the player all at once. So, what makes The Last of Us so special? Why should I care any more about these people and this story than any other fictional game or movie out there? In my mind, There are a few very important elements that set this game apart as an experience, surpassing its predecessors and setting a new standard for storytelling in the interactive entertainment medium of video games. And it starts with the way the characters speak.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Oh, good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
There is a nearly intolerable amount of cliché used in games and movies these days. Plot devices are constantly recycled in order to give characters reasons for doing things. Add to that a helping of overacting, and you have the recipe for most Hollywood movies. This isn't the case in The Last of Us. These characters don't act like they're acting.
If anything at all happens to him, it's on you.
This is what believable dialogue sounds
What the
like.
hell are we doing here?
What if it's true?
I can't...
What if, Joel? I mean, we've come this far. Let's just finish it.
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
This is how real people talk. This is how emotions really sound.
No, you don't.
Joel, I can handle myself.
No. Just stay here.
It's fine. Just wait around for you two to get me killed.
No. Listen to me. I know this hurt.
This is what tragic drama should look and sound like.
I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby. I know it hurts.
Another beautiful thing about The Last of Us is that character motivations are understood and believable. In real life, people use the resources they have to accomplish goals. These everyday realities are also evident among the deeds of the characters of The Last of Us. It might seem like a very basic thing, but too many stories, both in games and film, are built around flashy one-liners and stimulating visual set pieces that give very little thought to why their characters are actually acting this way.
Now that radio tower, it's on the other side of this cliff. Okay? Place is gonna be full of supplies. You're gonna be really happy you didn't kill me.
Character development is a key element in any good story. It's what allows us to track how events have affected each character. When Joel first meets Ellie, he's not interested in her help. She tries to be a part of their two-man team, but is turned down as a sidekick several times.
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
Eventually, however, Joel realizes that Ellie isn't just a dumb kid and that she can pull more than her own weight. This transformation of Joel's outlook is my favorite aspect of this story.
Listen to me. If I get into trouble down there, you make every shot count. Yeah.
I got this.
We actually get to see him evolve from a cold, detached brute to a man who's willing to pay any cost to save this girl. A great example of this change are these two scenes where Joel asks Ellie the same question 2 different times.
So is that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out. But man, you can't deny that view.
The first time, he's almost teasing her for wanting to leave the quarantine zone. The second time is much later after the two have been through some very trying times. His query isn't to tease her.
So, is everything you were hoping for?
Rather, he actually hopes their time together has brought her some happiness.
It's got its ups and downs. But you can't deny the view, though.
When it comes to the storytelling aspects of The Last of Us, it excels at conveying a believable story about believable people in a fictional world. But what about the gameplay aspects? What's so special about them? Again, Naughty Dog does a brilliant job of merging gameplay, narrative, and cinematic flow. During a fistfight, the camera swings in to catch the action up close. Even if all you're doing is searching a room for supplies, it's common for the characters to chat about one thing or another.
What is this?
Oh, this is an ice cream truck.
An ice cream truck?
Yeah, Henry told me about these. They sell ice cream out of the truck.
What? No way. Joel?
That's true. This thing drive around and
play real loud, creepy music, and kids would come running out to buy ice cream.
You're totally fucking with me.
Serious.
This is good because some of the sections require the player to perform tedious tasks that are neither challenging nor fun. Seriously, this happens over and over throughout the game. Move this plank from here to there, rinse and repeat. And it's not like platforming in, say, a Mario game. It's slow, and there's no risk. Seriously, you can't fail any of these sections, they're just slow. I had to speed up the video just so this part wouldn't drag, and it's still incredibly boring. About the third time I had to fetch a pallet in order to transport Ellie across a body of water because she doesn't know how to swim, I started to question certain design elements. Carrying planks, starting generators, fetching floating pallets. These are all examples of the worst The Last of Us has to offer. Okay, check this out. These are 4 different generators at 4 different parts in the game that require you to do the exact same timing minigame. Again, there's no challenge, it just chews up more and more time. It's a good thing this game is stunningly gorgeous, otherwise these parts would have no redeeming value. These actions add nothing to the excitement and really only serve as speed bumps. You could argue that these moments serve to ground the gameplay in a more realistic world where you might need to perform a few menial tasks. I'd be happy to agree with that assessment until I had to wade through these tasks all over again during subsequent playthroughs. The meat of the gameplay comes in the form of combat and stealth. Combat will require you to use small firearms, baseball bats, Molotov cocktails, bricks, etc. to defeat your enemies. If this sounds brutal and violent, it's because it is. The creators of The Last of Us clearly wanted to convey a feeling of desperation and ruthlessness. This dystopian, alternate future is a kill or be killed world where only those willing to take extreme measures are likely to survive. This gritty attitude towards survival is what drives the brutality in the combat gameplay sequences. It's not gore for the sake of gore, it's gore for the sake of narrative. But sometimes combat is avoidable. Sometimes it's wiser to not pick a fight if possible. Ammunition and resources are scarce, and finding a way around a fight can be its own reward. In summary, the wonderful people at Naughty Dog and Sony have left us with one of the most unforgettable experiences to ever grace the interactive entertainment medium of video games. Whether you're into mature action games or prefer a great story that's beautifully performed, The Last of Us is a treat. There's also multiplayer modes and added downloadable content that I didn't even cover here. If you haven't experienced The Last of Us yet, I encourage you to check it out, and if you have, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for future videos and like this video. Obviously, doing so will help me make more of these in the future. Thanks for watching.
Good. Follow me. Whole goddamn town's booby trapped. Best stay right on my ass.
Can't miss it.
Knock it off.